Hello there, this is Petros from Expansion Talk, and I will be reviewing chapter 1010 titled Conqueror's Haki. Whoa! Oh yeah, in the cover art request, we have Pudding, and Pudding applying eye drops, and it's a cover request by Machu. And we see Pudding sitting on a chair. She's probably in her room in Holy Cake Island. Maybe, I think, yeah, because there's chair there, there's the floor there, there are some curtains in the very background. And the reason I doubted it is because I see the tree there. So it's a tree from the Seducing Woods right next to Pudding. And it's there, I think it's probably a short tree to be inside the house. But yeah, it's pudding. It's a tree from the Seducing Woods, and it's a tart, a cake there with some flowers on the top. And we see also the from behind. We see also the carpet, the magical carpet, and the gelée thing that was on Pudding's shoulder. Right. So they're all applying. Pudding is applying teardrops, eye drops in her eyes, in her three eyes, and so do the tree and the dart and the jalopy that is applying not to him but actually on the carpet. The carpet is smiling. Pudding is like oh, like this, and it's a cute thing. We see also the lipsticks and the for the nails, the colors, stuff like this. She's probably in front of her mirror. So, in the actual chapter, we start the chapter. Remember, keep in mind, in the previous chapter, Law, Kid, and Killer managed to separate Big Mom from Kaido from the rooftop, and they accomplished that by separating her first from her homies, and then pushing her with a boulder, with a big rock outside of the vicinity of the island that is flying, right on Ingashima. And so the homies can't save her, and she's falling down to this. And we start with this panel from below, and we see Big Mom falling right from behind. We see it, and so she's calling Zeus to save her, and she's screaming. She's like, Zeus, help me, save me. And we see Zeus is still inside in the metallic box that Kid manufactured with the scraps that he had gathered. And he's screaming, he's throwing away lightning bolts. And also at the same time, Zoro is cutting steel again and again Prometheus in half. And it's like, and Prometheus is like, I'm coming, blah, because he is cut again. He is cut again and again and again. And he's like, Law sees that. Law sees Zoro. And remember, in the previous chapter, he managed to stop the big combination attack from Big Mom and Kaido for a few seconds. And Law sees him cutting again and again Prometheus, and he's like, that guy, referring to Zoro. I wouldn't be surprised if he broke every bone in his body after their last attack. And Kaido is like in this situation, he has already hit Luffy with three realms, Ragnarok, and Luffy is buried in the ground, and he looks on the side and he's like, "You're pathetic, Lin Lin. You have become an invalid." And so we see Luffy. He's unconscious on the ground, and Kaido is going after Zoro, and he's like, "Hey, Pirate Hunter, let Prometheus go." And he's ready to attack. He goes straight away for Zoro. We see Zoro in the panel, like looking at him, like he's looking him coming like this. And at the last moment, Law has opened up a room and he pops him out of the way, and he's taking his place, and he's like already injection shot, and he hits Kaido with his sword right in the neck here. And Kaido coughs. He has some blood, and he's like, "Your ability." He talks to Law, and he's like, "Your abilities," and he starts to attack. And Law puts up a new technique called curtain, and he's doing something like this or like this to protect himself. And Kaido continues, "Your abilities really throw me off, Trafalgar," and he hits Law, and Law goes and smashes into the rocks. In this moment, Prometheus and Napoleon are going down to save Mom, to save Big Mom. Zoro tells, "Hey, Troph, what are you doing?" as he's hopping. "That flame thing is going to save Big Mom." And Lo tells him, "You know what? Let it go. The plan isn't worth one of us dying." And so Kid steps in and he tells, "We only needed to split them up anyway." And Killer says, "This should be enough. Ha ha ha." So, leave Big Mom to us, and we see them. We see Zoro, and we see a huge parade of scraps following Kid as they go with Killer towards Big Mom at the edge of Onigashima. And so, down the sea now, we see Prometheus and we see Napoleon and Big Mom. They actually saved Big Mom, and they Big Mom is on top of Prometheus, and they're having a conversation there, and it's like, "Thank goodness, Mama." And and Big Mom is like, "Mama, Mama," haha. She laughs and she says, "Aren't you just the cutest, Prometheus?" What was that useless oaf Zeus doing? And Prometheus is like, "My thoughts exactly, Mama. That airhead is always holding us back. So, Mama, I have a favor to ask." And Big Mom is like, "What is it?" And we cut away. And we cut away to Kid and Killer. They are at the edge of Onigashima. And they look at the clouds, and Kid is like, "What the clouds so the clouds are doing something." So we cut back to Kaido, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." Look at Strawhead's face. It's just like the last time. He's unconscious, but he's still glaring at me. And and we see Luffy tilting his head like towards Kaido. And he's like, "I'm going to gouge his eyes out, or cave in his skull. Maybe I'll just crush his heart." And we cut to Zoro, and he's like, "Hey, Troph, I've reached my limit. This next attack will be my last." And so we see, if this doesn't, and Zoro says, "If this doesn't work and I end up dead, it will be up to you." And we see him holding Enmine. He's applying his haki on the sword in his hand. And he's like, "Hey, Kaido, that's my captain you got there." Kaido turns towards him, and we see Zoro doing the Ashura, the nine sword style that he used, remember, back in Impel Down. And we see in the background, Oda has drawn the multi-handed god. I think it's a god with the many arms. Like I think it's called Siva or whatever. I think so. So, and it's like, "You should take my head." Zoro is like, "You should take my head, hey Kaido, before you get ahead of yourself." And he's like, and he goes nine sword style, demonic Asura. And so Zoro rushes very fast in front of Kaido with his nine sword style, and he's like, "Farce of the Dead," and we see him very fast cutting Kaido. We see him the next panel with his nine swords um, behind Kaido, having already cutted him. We see Kaido. Kaido is bleeding. Kaido is having a huge scar, a huge bleed on his chest. But then Zoro's power runs off. Law is looking at this and he's like, "Oh my god." He doesn't say this, but he's like very surprised with his eyes open. And he's like, Kaido's like, "That's round. It can't be. You have Conqueror's Haki too?" To Zoro. So he understands that Zoro in this moment had used Conqueror's Haki. But we cut to Zoro and he's like, "What? What the hell do you mean?" As he wheezing, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he falls to the ground. And he's like, "I just put everything I had into that assault. I was hoping it at least be enough to knock you down." And Kaido tells him, "Well, it will leave a scar. That should be enough for you." And he's like, Zoro falls to the ground, and he's like, "This generation is such a pain." And he is going to attack Kaido. And so Lost steps in, and he's like, he tells Zoro, "Hey, Zoro, yeah, get out of there." Kaido turns to Law and he's like, "Don't bother trying to help." And he uses Thunder Bagua to both Zoro and Law, so it's very, very fast. And he attacks both of them at the same time. They are both have been knocked to the ground. They're both bleeding. They're both coughing blood. Kaido has used Thunder Bagua with Conqueror's Haki, and we see him. We see it's the only one standing there in the next panel. Only Kaido is standing, and he talks basically to himself, and he says, "You know what? What a pity. If you had joined me, we could have taken over the world together." And at that moment, he hears, and we see a text bubble there, and he hears this: "Join you." And that someone that has talked is actually Luffy, and he is standing just like Kaido. And he's like, Luffy tells him, like any of us would ever team up with an idiot like you, the samurai are our friends. And we see Luffy, he is shaded and he's bleeding from his head. And he's like, I'm definitely going to send you flying. And we see a small flashback that Luffy has from Hyogoro, and he remembers Hyogoro telling him, "Coating yourself in haki should allow you to devastate your opponent from the inside. Stop forcing it. Just let the haki flow into your fists." And so Luffy is also kind of talking to himself there, and he tells all the attacks that I tried were still not it. And the flashback continues, and he remembers Hyogoro saying, "It is in the midst of a danger that power truly blossoms." And Luffy continues, and he tells, "That first time I took a blow from your club, I finally get what happened. Conqueror's Haki. You can use it to code yourself, right?" And Kaido, hearing that, he laughs, and he is like, "Whoa." And so, and he goes to attack Luffy with his cannonball, with his club. And he tells him it can only be done by a handful of powerful individuals. And you've escaped death for the last time. And so he's going to attack Luffy, but Luffy, he spins out of the, he shifts, he goes very fast. He evades, he dodges very fast. And in the next panel, we see him applying Conqueror's Haki actually into his foot to counter Kaido's club. And so he's like that, something like that. And his foot do not touch the club. And so the 2 points, the two surfaces do not touch. And so Luffy uses this, and he uses the club as he does that. He uses the club to counter and to give him, to propel him up in the air. And he performs a spinning move, and he goes back, he touches the ground, and he immediately rushes towards Kaido, and he uses Conqueror's Haki to coat up his right fist. And we see him, we see the sparkling effect that it has, the sound effect of the sparkles. And we see him rushing to Kaido and punching him in the abdomen, in his belly, but without actually touching him. We see the thunder, the black thunder that comes out with when Conqueror's Haki is applied, and he punches him in the belly without touching him. Kaido is lowering, he is looking down because of the impact, and then Luffy punches him again with an uppercut like that, with Conqueror's Haki. And Kaido is like that. He's going like that without again even touching him, and he sent him flying backwards to the ground. And so Law sees that, and he's like, "How? He's not even making contact." And Luffy tells Law, "Zoro, Truff, thanks for covering me. You guys head back down. Leave the rest to me. I'll beat him no matter what. Tell everyone," and he does this. We see in the last panel, Luffy's like that, and in his kind of like trademark pose or something, and he's like that, and he's like, "Tell everyone, I've got this. So this is a chapter, chapter 1010, and thank you very much for watching, and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next video.